Welcome to the podcast, lads. What is the crack?
After you, Sean, come on.
It's nice to be here. Finally in a professional setup doing a podcast that we could have done over in Marbella
Well, like,
over the summer.
whose fault is that? We spent 2 months living with each other in Marbella, and that was the one thing that we wanted to get done. We were like, while we're in Marbella, we'll do a podcast together. As long as we get that done, it'll be a success. And then it just never happened.
It's one of them things, though, that as much as you say, let's get it done, it never happened. And now we're home. I actually did push for this. I would like to say that, like...
You did, yeah, to be fair. You were like, right, let's just fucking do it.
Just lock it and pick a date, because I feel like that's always the way. If you don't pick a date for something, it rolls. You need a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you always need to have it like that. Plus, you're away tomorrow.
You're going to Croatia tomorrow.
Jesus, big one. Heavy. Hopefully you come back, all right?
I go to Croatia, and then me and Fitz is going to Portugal for that IFS too.
That's next week, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's next week,
I have
lad.
to book my flights.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you're
Yeah,
so last minute.
he's Mr. Last Minute. What has been you stayed on? You both stayed on longer than me? Or no, did you? You came on with me.
I went before you.
Oh, you went before me. That's right. What happened with you, Tony? You stayed on. Talk about that.
So I went to Fungarola by myself, like the bandit. So I was there for about...
Did we say that we were talking about Marbella too, just in case? Yeah, no, we already said that, right?
Yeah, we were in Marbella, and then I went to Fungarola for about 4 days myself. Do you know what? I think I preferred it personally. Not mainly because you two weren't there, I would say, but...
You were fucking sick looking at us.
I'm not joking. I'm so sick of saying Sean, and both of you turn around at the same time. And I know I should probably go Fitz and Casey, but still. Yeah, it was nice. I'm going to be honest. If anybody's more into like a relaxed vibe, the gym wasn't better for maybe videoing, but it was definitely a more optimal setup without Sean crying here, looking at him rolling his eyes. So it was good. No, I really enjoyed it. It was solid. Like, plus it was nice to get a bit of that vibe by myself, if you get me, rather than constantly the three of us fucking being on top of each other.
Yeah, like I think it was great living with each other, but at the same time, when you're living with other people that do the exact same thing as you, that's all that's going on all the time. Like, you're constantly talking about social media, you're constantly talking about your business, and it gets to a stage where you're like, fuck off. Ollie is like...
We do need someone to come in and kind of change it up a little bit, because like no matter what it is, it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're talking about kind of the same thing over and over and over again, you're just going to get, like, I suppose, fed up with it. And that's where you need, like, to, I suppose, go away for a couple of weeks or go on a holiday or, you know, go see someone else. But no, it was a fucking really, really valuable, I think, for all around 6 weeks for all of us.
Yeah.
I think generally, though, you just get sick of looking at anybody you live with. I don't know about you, but I'm very much like a what's that, self-sufficient sort of person. So like when I spend so much time with anybody, whether it's like my mum, anyone, eventually you just be like, oh, fuck this, I need to be by myself. And that eventually happens with everybody, because small things, even living with anybody, if you've, like, I've lived with so many people over time, like, it catches up with everyone over time. That's why you need the space, but it's very difficult because of how much we all work and stuff, that was the case. Yeah, as you said, a different dynamic definitely helps, but like, it's hard to get somebody in with a different job whenever that's part of it. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get people who can just go, I'm going to do 6 weeks.
Yeah. And do you miss Marbella? Like, I don't at all. Like, I loved it. I did enjoy it, but I don't like, see when you see like photos of people in Real Club Padel and all, you know, you think, oh, fuck, I wish it was there. I just don't really get any of that. Like, but it was, and not saying I didn't like it, it was good, but I just don't miss it.
I think it's all a case of like, I think people only miss holidays because it's like a sort of perspective change. They're like, oh, I want this or want that. But like, we all know we could also stay there all year round if you want. So then it's like, where am I actually happy? And you realize that it's not the place. It's sort of, it's person dependent.
I thought, say when we first got there and we done the month and then we decided to stay longer, I was like, fuck, we need to look at like getting a year lease and all and staying here. But yeah, but after a while, you're just sick doing the same things and the same sort of vibes and atmosphere. But it is good. There's lots to do, but at the same time, it does get a bit repetitive if you're not like, you're going out for food and then you're going to the gym and there's a DJ playing in the gym and it's cool at the start, but then you're like, oh, fuck.
It's like everywhere, though. You just fall into routine and then it becomes habit, and then that's why people need the holidays and they need the break, whereas most people can't. But it's one of the things that's interesting, because then people will be watching on, people be saying to me, that looked unbelievable, and you're like, we spent majority of the time fucking working, to be quite honest. Like, I've never made as much content in my life, and people think that's good crack, but like in Fungarola, whenever you weren't there, like, I was setting up a tripod outside the gym, camera, staring at the gym, and run into the gym, and the gym owner speaking just pure Spanish, being like, what's going on here? And then I would trip going in, or like, but it was a case of like, I would never take something just once whenever I do that. So like, tripod sitting across the road, I'm waiting for the cars to pass, run in the gym, and then the gym owner's looking at me, I'm not even trying to explain because my Spanish is so broken. and then repeating this process like 5 times to get the
Yeah, I
shot.
didn't get the right shot.
Yeah.
You know what the worst part of that is? It's not actually setting up the tripod and doing the run. It's when you're finished the run, you need to go back and collect the tripod.
Oh, you'd be watching the camera and you'd just be like, oh, my soul is with Instagram now. It's soul to the devil.
That's the thing with social media. Like, you're seeing what the footage that you see, but you don't see all the other parts that go into it, like all the takes and then running, getting a tripod and checking it. But
I was in the other week in a takeaway, so one of my videos, one of the scenes was to run the fuck away from a takeaway after a night out.
I've seen that, yeah.
And like I had to do like 3 or 4 takes of me going into the takeaway. The servers expecting me to come and order someone. Everyone eating to the left-hand side, looking at this fella about to order a bag of chips. I turn around and put up the hood up and run out the gate. And I had to do that about 3 times. The people were wondering, what the fuck is this fella doing?
I think they're the best clips though. And the funny thing is though, that looks like it takes you 10 seconds, but you have to drive there, you have to film that, you have to take multiple takes. And then it's one of them things where you don't realize the amount of time. This is something I didn't realize we used to. Like, I put effort into content. I would go to the gym and I'd video it, but I mean the actual timing with the voiceovers, the clipping together, all the extra clips. Like, my content went from taking me out to 15 minutes to where it was about an hour and a half per post minimum.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking hell. But I think whenever you do that and you double down on something, it always pays off, and the growth shows from that. So it's not just a case of a little bit of following came from it. Whenever I doubled down, put in extra effort, more time, it all added up over that. And that's the reason it's grown more than anything. Doubling down.
I think that's something you've seen from us. Like, you maybe knew, like, these lads are big into content and you wanted to learn from us, but it wasn't like there's any secret potion or anything to it. Like, obviously there's some small bits that you take, but a lot of it is just time, the amount of time that is actually spent creating content. And that's something that you never had to build your business through content because you got such good results and things like that. So you never really paid too much attention to it. But then once you've seen how much time and effort and how seriously we took it, you were like, fuck, maybe there's a bit of work to do here. And then you fucking just grinded. Like, I've never seen a man do as many voiceovers. Like, you were just sitting in your room, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and all you heard was Tony like, here's 3 things that are going to give you tits the size of mine.
The funniest thing would be when you're trying to do your voiceover and just you're about to speak into the microphone, you just hear Tony out in the other room doing another TikTok. You're like, give me a second, man.
Oh no, the worst of it was like all the voiceovers and all going on, and then one of the times it was when you were getting your system set up or something, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and then I was just putting my head in the pillow and all I hear was you, oh, thanks very much for the inquiry, Doc. This is how coaching works. I was like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock.
I know, it was fucking cat though.
It was cat.
I remember that so clearly because I was sitting smothering rice cakes on pure peasant calories with this wee tiny 5 grams of peanut butter, and all I heard was, thanks for the inquiry. And I was like, I'm going to fucking take this butter knife. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to stab him. I was like, it's fucking 11 o'clock at night.
You put me up to it. You told me start doing voice notes.
Yeah, but I didn't go start doing them at fucking 11 o'clock at night. Me lying on I felt like it feels like you're sleeping there. Do you know the headset on that's playing like relaxing music? But it's just constant inquiry music. It's just like, holy fuck. But that's the funny thing. You don't realize how much you be switched on as an individual until you see that small thing with each person. It's fucking wipeout. Like.
Yeah, like, you know how much you work, but then when you actually see it in other people, like at home, I'll be working like from in the morning until night, but I don't really think much of it because I'll go downstairs and everyone's doing other things, having conversations. But when you're in a house, when everyone's doing the exact same thing, and you're like, fuck, this is the way I am. Like, it's a bit of a strange dynamic, like, isn't it?
It's fucking wipeout. I think like I probably got an issue with the amount of work that we done there because it ingrains into you then as well. You build habits, like where content isn't even looked at like work.
Yeah,
it's just looked at part of your day, so your day doesn't finish till you're posted. So that can take you 5 minutes, so that can take you an hour and a half. So it definitely does add up. But it's one of the things where it's like everything short-term pain, long-term gain. You put in the effort now, you put in the extra hours, and then you'll actually reap the reward down the line because that'll come back with income, your physique, anything. Whenever you put in more effort in the short term, just like you're saying there, even with content with the gym, as long as you're putting in more time, you eventually get better. And it's them 1% and 2% that add up and give you that big result in any area of your life.
Are you still working as much at the minute in terms of content and that now that you're home?
Yeah. I'm doing a couple like where I've actually made that many TikToks from Marbella that I'm able to like use that a wee bit, but I'm still grinding away. Probably not just as much, but because I need the dial back. It was getting too much. I think like your idea for 2 a day was so smart.
Oh yeah, it worked
but
so
terrible
well.
for my mental health. Like,
It works so well, like, because like Instagram is at a stage in the minute where reels are just blowing up, and like one reel, as both of you have figured out, can literally change their social media completely. So by doubling down on the content, it's just has way more chance of virality and way more chance of doing well, but it takes so much time. Like, say 2 pieces of content every single day, that's your full-time job then.
100%. Prime example is like, I think there was a stage, right? So when I went out, right, so followings before we went out and then after, I was at about 25k.
When you came out to Marbella?
About 24, 23.
What were you on, Fitz?
40 on the button.
Yeah.
So say 25, 40. What were you at?
150.
150-ish, wasn't it?
I think it was 140 because I remember hitting
right
160 and then I was like, fuck, I'm up 20k since I got here. But yeah.
And the funny thing is, I grew to 30. I went from 25 to 34-ish, 33-ish with views.
Mm-hmm.
I left views for a week, but posted the video I had made with you. You filmed it. And I posted that, and that one's the one that popped. And I went, but the thing is, it's so strange. I don't know if this is how it happened to yours, because mine popped, and then the rest of them started popping. Like, it was all the videos round it started popping for me. So like that one exercise that I wanked, the very first one, it's not even that good of a video. Like, it's all right. Like, I make the worst joke ever. Do you think you're Lewis Hamilton? I was like, if I knew that it was going to get 2 million views, I would have made that fucking better. And then I'm seeing everybody else do it now, but it's one of them ones where then I noticed the videos round it were getting like 800,000, 900,000. I was going, fuck, that's where this week's are coming from. And it made like one viral video start bouncing into others. Because I passed you and I was like, fuck, I'm the big dog now. I was like, I was like, it's time for the takeover. And then I was
2 days later.
Yeah, and then I was like, I'm not messaging with Slag or anything. It'll be Carmen, he'll be past me. Yeah. I clicked this page, 150,000 Instagram. I was like, go fuck yourself back. Yeah. Me back to making more TikToks. The insecurity. What it just bounced for you. Where were you? You were sitting around.
On the plane to correct. No, so I went up to the All-Ireland final, Limerick and Kilkenny. So I was at about 55, 56,000 that night.
And bear in mind, how many years of work was that to get to there?
4.5 anyway, 5 maybe.
Mine was 4,
So to get to 50,000, and what I say is, yes, it popped off obviously after 50,000, 55, but without the kind of 4 or 5 years of really dogging down on it and really committing to it, that pop off wouldn't have happened. And that's the way I kind of look at it. I don't look at the 4 years as wasted investment. The 4 years created a very engaged following. Then just as the snowball effect will happen, it just popped off after that. Mm-hmm. But as I said, it wouldn't have gone viral without the 4 years before that. So it's not that 100%. I regret anything about it. Anyway, up in Dublin, it was about 55,000, and I went to get my hair cut in Grafton Barber's shop. I think they had like 8,000 followers on Instagram. And I was thinking, I saw a surcharge of followers come in after that. I was like, maybe they have a very engaged following. Maybe that's where I got a couple followers, because they put me up in their page. And then over the course of that weekend, I started to notice, okay, there's something more to this than a page with 8,000 followers shouting me out. It just kept going up, but I didn't pay any attention to it. I just didn't know what it was. Then I sat on the plane the Tuesday after that. So this is the weekend. Sat on the plane on the Tuesday to Croatia. I think I just hit 60,000. I was like, fuck, 55 to 60 in a few days. That's unreal. And then got off the plane in Croatia and it was like up another 5,000. Okay, something's fucking going on here. And I was with my mate, Sean Power, over there. And he's really, really invested in my journey as well. He's been great. I probably wouldn't be where I am without him today. But he was like, okay, once you hit 70,000, we're getting a bottle here in the club. Then I hit 70,000. And then, yeah, that was great. And celebrating that. Then the next day it was 80,000. I was like, okay, we'll get a bottle to celebrate 80,000. And then I was like, I don't think this is slowing down anytime soon. And then actually, ironically, when it hit 100, it was like an anticlimax because I'd celebrated 70, 80, 90, 100. And then I just stopped. I was like, okay, let's just see where this goes. And then it went up to 177. Down now to 175, but that was completely intentional because I was like, with a massive influx of followers, and I think people need to be very, very careful when they go viral. You're going to get a lot of people who see a bite-sized video, a very, very small snippet of you as a person. They're not necessarily going to be 100% invested in you, and there's a lot of people who, upon seeing subsequent content, might go, I don't actually like this guy. So what I started to find was I was getting more really just shitty comments just from people who are very easily offended and stuff. And that's not what my following, who I'd spent 4 years creating, is about. My platform was always a place where I could say whatever the hell I wanted. People saw it as a joke, as it always was. Started to see some of those shitty woke kind of comments coming in. I said, right, I'm going to have to do something here. So I've started kind of expressing more of how I feel. And the video I did kind of on obesity the other day was how I feel about the topic, and I was very, very honest and authentic in it. It was the one video that I did where I felt something for the 9 minutes. So obviously the video that you see for 5 minutes or whatever is not what's recorded. That is chopped down and recorded. But for 9 minutes straight, it came from somewhere deep inside that I was like, I'm very, very, this is authentic as fuck here. So as a result of that, a couple of people unfollowed and a couple of people got very bad at me. But I stood by what I believed in within that video. It lost a couple of followers along the way, but I'm very much of the opinion that I want to filter down all that mass of followers that came in so that my platform remains a place where I can speak freely, do what I say, and not curating what I'm saying to appease people who probably won't even buy my services at some stage in the future.
Summarize what you said in that video.
So what I said was, I read an article in the Irish Times, and I think it was NHS doctors that they were talking about. And they were talking about how obese patients getting weight shamed by doctors. Very, very generic sort of stuff. But that was kind of the clickbait headline of the article. If you read further into the article, they started to make comments such as very definitive comments about obese people, saying that there's nothing they can do. They're imprisoned by their environment and they've no escape from that environment. I was like, this is very, very disabling language, I think, to be using for obese people. Because if I'm at, let's say, the lowest of the low in terms of my physical condition, in terms of my mental condition, the last thing that I want to be told is that there's no escape, that I'm a prisoner to my environment. And I just thought, I got very, very wound up over it, because there's people there who might have the drive, the motivation, and potentially the tools to sort out their situation, who may not now go and pursue bettering their physical condition, getting fitter, getting stronger, getting more confident, because ultimately, if they're coming to a doctor as a result of, maybe it's not directly that they're going to a doctor because of their condition, but it's going to be one of the things that they're going to want to sort out. I think that it's an awful thing to go to someone and then they're saying, you're not going to be able to change it. Like if someone's going to a therapist, let's say, the last thing they want to be told is that you're going to be like this forever.
I think a lot of people misinterpret what you were trying to say in that video. Like, two things can be true at the same time. So it's true that like what you were trying to say was like you shouldn't use this disabling language, but that's not to say that there isn't people that find it harder. And you actually said that in your video.
I said it
There's
twice.
so many different variables that go into obesity, like the demographic that someone's born into, their genetics, their susceptibility to comfort eating, things like that, mental health, trauma. You weren't denying that any of these things played a part in obesity, but you were just saying that the language used is very disheartening for someone with obesity. And I thought, and then a lot of people were jumping down your throat like, oh, there's this and that. So like, are you listening to what he said? He didn't disregard any of that. He just said that we shouldn't tell people that there's no hope at all for them.
And I looked through the comments both on TikTok and on Instagram. And actually one of the comments that I pinned on Instagram was from, I believe she's a motivational speaker, but she said she got to 300 pounds or something like that. And she said it was this very, what they call patient first language, disabling language, that said basically there's not much you're going to be able to do about your situation, that enabled her to get to about 300 pounds. And I think since then she's dropped, she said, fuck this, I'm not going to stay like this forever. I'm going to do the best I can with the hand of cards that I'm dealt. And I think she's down 60 something pounds or something as a result of taking that sort of attitude to it. Went through my TikTok comments, I got a lot of people who are 130, 140 kilos, who are down 20, 30 kilos, absolutely agreeing with what I said. And then I did see a couple of people who have never been in that situation turning around then and saying how it's impossible for obese people to sort out their physical condition.
For me, that completely, as you said, it disables people. It enables a victim mode, and that for me fries my fucking head. Like you need to take as much as there's other factors, you need to take responsibility for whatever position you are in life. Because no matter what happens to you, if your dad's an alcoholic, you have the choice down the line. Yes, you might be more susceptible to it, but you still have a choice, and you decide what layer of responsibility you take from that. If you don't, it's the same as you're saying with the food. Like that fries my fucking head so much, because it's one of them things where, yes, we understand it's hard. Yes, we're all in a decent position, but we didn't start that way. Whereas it almost sounds, the way people have taken that, the reason they've taken that offensively is because you're in shape. If you weren't and you had body fat on you and you were fat and you were saying that, it's coming from a place of like, oh, right, well, he's like that, so I can't attack him all of a sudden. Versus it's one of them things where I feel like it just pushes that victim mentality, and that fries me, because it's just such an overlap of where it just completely ruins people. It's like a snowflake generation. Like that's exactly what you're saying about the platform and the churning. I feel like that's exactly what you need to do. It's like me with the exercises that are complete wank. Like when I put them up, I know I'm going to trigger people. Like I know somebody's going to take it offensively, but that's not who I'm targeting. I'm trying to help the people that will actually take the fucking help. Like the people that, whenever you put out something, I don't know about you, but I always think this is aimed at me younger. This is aimed at me at 21. What I fucking wish somebody just said to me, blunt as fuck, and I took it in. Whereas people like that whitewash it, and then you're unsure of whose opinion's true, who's actually comforting you, and who's actually fucking helping you. Because sometimes you're better to stick the knife in and get the fucker done, and it actually help you in the long run. I know that sounds like, but the pain helps, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you're covering a fucking bullet wound with a plaster, and then you never get it sorted.
Yeah, and I think that one of the points that I made clear to make was that I think anyone, regardless of their condition, regardless of their body fat level, their gender, their skin color, whatever, should be treated the same in a medical setting, in any professional setting. That's not what we're disputing here. But I think in many ways, this show of compassion can disable someone actually taking action. And I think that's really, really important to identify that there's being compassionate. Yes, there's showing empathy with a situation. But ultimately, if you're in a really, really bad situation, you want a solution, you want a way out, you want a way to improve your current situation. And I just think that going to someone saying, you're fine the way you are, regardless, it's not just exclusive to people out of shape, but if you're fine the way you are, that's not necessarily what you're wanting to hear if you're coming to that person for help. You want this person to say, right, maybe it's a bit of a shit show at the moment. Maybe if you do X, Y, or Z, we could get you to here. It mightn't necessarily be the best possible condition or situation that you could ever possibly hope for. But it's going to be a hell of a lot fucking better than the situation you're in now.
Yeah, and there does need to be a happy medium as well. Like there is some people that are just complete bell ends to someone that is overweight without actually understanding their unique circumstances. So there is that stage where you need to understand, look, that person is not in that position because that's where they necessarily want to be. So we need to understand that all these factors have played into them being there now, and that's fine. But then we also need to be like, if we want this person to move forward, using that disabling language isn't going to help them. So I feel like in this day and age, so many people are all or nothing. So you've got like the body positivity movement that says no one should ever lose weight. And then you've got the extreme diet movement that says like, oh, just lose weight no matter what. And you uses the complete wrong language. Whereas I think you can learn from both sides and you can take things from both sides. But I think it's about being open-minded, because at the start, I would just say, oh, people with obesity, they're all just lazy and this and that. Then you understand that there's more that goes into it. But then as your job as someone to help people lose weight, you're like, right, understanding all these factors, how can we still help them? And using disabling language definitely isn't the best way to go about it. You agree?
Yeah, I do. I think especially you're talking about sort of the spectrum there is bang on. But I think it's interesting because coaching people, certain people respond better to comfort and certain people respond better to being almost personal. Like,
individualized. You can't give broad sweeping statements. That's why it's important to work with people and understand where they're currently at and what language they respond better to.
Exactly. Like, for example, my clients and me will usually respond to a bit more hard love better normally. Now, don't get me wrong. If I have a mum of 3 and she's 35 and she's stressed over a nut, I'm not going to turn around and go the fuck out there and get your steps, you lazy fucker. That's not the tone I'm going to take with her. I'm going to go, I understand that you're way busier than me. I know there's a lot going on, but could we get another 1,000 in our lunch? Could we do this? Versus an 18-year-old living at home with their mum, getting their meals cooked for them. Like, mate, come on, catch a grip here. Let's get stuck in, especially now where you got the time. So it just depends on the person and where their mental frame is. And that's where that coaching comes down to. And like when we're speaking on it, that spectrum of like taking care of somebody where you're almost like persuading them to lose, that can help or that can disable. And if you whip people too hard, it can break them. So I think that's why whenever you're listening to advice, you'll connect with certain things at certain stages in your life, depending where you are.
That's another thing as well. And there's something I think Andy Morgan talked about. He goes, there's certain people, let's say, who respond to the David Goggins slashing of the whip sort of motivation. Then there's other people who respond to something a little bit softer. So like when I'm kind of doing content like that, I'm bearing that in mind. It's like, it goes back to the saying, if you stand for everyone, you stand for no one. I think more so in terms of my personality, I'm probably a little bit further towards kind of, come on, accept these situations. It's a little bit more difficult for you, but let's see what we can do about this, as opposed to kind of going the overtly sort of comforting route, which is kind of facilitating a lack of action. So with that video in mind, there's certain people who are going to see that video, respond really, really well to it, because that's just the type of that's the type of motivation that they benefit from. Other people would see that and go, no, and maybe they can go and follow someone else who they'll respond a little bit better to that sort of style.
It's just about different people being suited to different people. Like there's no one size fits all. That's why no one can sit and say with their content, my content is the best for everyone. No. That's why it's important to identify. I like following this person because I think their messaging works for me. But for some people, you could have two people that both want to lose weight, but they're following completely different people. One of them's like, you just need to go out there and get after it, and it might work for them. And another's like, oh, we need to take a responsible approach. You need to be kind to yourself. And it's like, there's no right or wrong. I feel like in this day and age, everyone is so like, this is I'm right. You can't tell that to people. You can't say that. No, his approach is wrong. Everyone's different. People are different. And then I think it's about just accepting this fact. Like,
I would say all three of us on that spectrum sit differently too, which is quite interesting. Like, I would say out of the three of us, I'm probably a lot more towards like you're getting whipped. Like,
yeah.
It's because I respond best like that. I would say out of the three of us, you'll hear me talk about my coach and be like, my coach is cramping down on me because of X, Y, and Z. And you'll be like, fuck me, how's he even cracking up with that?
Yeah.
But for me, I work better off no pressure, no diamond. Like, I always work better off that, whereas other people won't. But I think it's interesting because all three of us probably sit slightly different places on that.
Yeah, we talked about this in Marbella too, like where you were sometimes saying about your coaching ideologies, and then you would be talking to him about it, and then I would say, well, actually, I wouldn't do it that way. If it was me, this is how I would talk to my client, or this is the way I would approach it. But it's not me saying you're wrong, you should listen to me. It's like, this is my viewpoint, this is his. And then you need, because you can't just take, like, for example, when Tony coached me, I took loads, like so much value off it, but it didn't turn into a mini Tony McAleavey because there's differences in our coaching, but it's just about accepting that. And instead of being right or wrong.
I think the mark of
me.
That's the last thing you want, fucking mini Tony McAleavey running around.
You'd be 4'3".
The mark of a good coach, the mark of a good professional in any realm is knowing what sort of tactic to implement in the given situation. As Tony said there, a 40-year-old mother of 5 who is to look after all sorts of kids, she's not going to be someone who you can probably go as hard on as the 20-year-old or something. And there have been people who I have implemented the compassionate approach with who didn't respond to it, who fell off the wagon as a result of that. There have been other people who I implemented the sort of hard and fast approach with it, the strict approach with it. They also fell off. So you just kind of have to take each client at a personal level, see which are they more likely to respond to. And you can kind of tease that out in the first couple of weeks, first sort of check-ins. Right, when I say this to this person, they tend to respond better. When I say this to this person, they tend to come back the next week and have fucking nothing done. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not a binary sort of you're either one or the other. Any good coach is going to look at a person on a personal basis and go, this is the tactic I'm probably going to have to use here.
Not even for just coaching, for yourself, you should have a better idea of where you sit in that metric. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're constantly getting comforted and then you're literally not moving anywhere with physique, business, whatever you're focusing on, then you know that probably doesn't work best for you. Whereas if you notice you work a little bit better whenever things are tight, then it's just trying to find that balance for yourself in any area, I feel like, rather than just physique.
Yeah.
It's like, do you work better under that bit of pressure? Do you work better when things are strict versus that more relaxed, comforting? But no, it's an interesting topic. You could literally go on about that all day. Yeah. Like, it's such a unique thing. The following was the main thing. So I went from 25 to 110 in one push, which was fucking nuts. You went from 50 to, how high did you go before it started stalling out? Did you
177?
177, and you went from about 150 to you're high now. What did you come back at?
I think maybe 220 or something. I'm like near 280 now.
That's absolutely bonkers, isn't it?
It's not a bad summer.
It's
pretty good.
Yeah. I'd stalled out for a while, like a wee bit after Marbella. Like, for the first time ever, my following stalled, and that actually like really stresses me out. Like, because it's not about the number of following. I just like to be moving in the right direction. Yeah. And we went on the family holiday to Galway after, and I put up a photo of me and my sister. And my sister was holding a racket like this, and the photo gets took down for like hate symbols or something. It was like I couldn't even appeal it. And I was like, oh fuck, that's a bit annoying. And like my following had been growing for like a year solid, and then it just stalled out. And I was like, is that a coincidence? Am I shadow banned here because of this photo? And I was fucking getting really stressed out about it. And I was like, fuck, what I do here? My full business is actually built off the fact that I help people grow on social media. But it was just a matter of, always like to turn a negative situation into a positive. So when that happened, I was like, all right, fuck this. Started posting YouTube shorts and on Facebook every day because I was like, I've got the content there anyway. But then it started moving the right direction again after that. So it was just like a wee hiccup, and it's been fucking, I've been trying to post twice a day. I've sort of eased off a bit in that too. But when I'm posting twice a day, it's going up like 10 to 20K a week, which is just, it's bonkers. Like, Instagram is mental at the minute. It's absolutely crazy. But I liked what you were saying, Sean, whereas you got all these followers, went up to 177, but you didn't let that change what you wanted to talk about, and if anything, you actually started to lean more into your own personal opinions that you know some people might not like, to get rid of and do what's the word, a purge?
Cleanse.
A cleanse, yeah. Weed out all the dirt.
Herbalife.
Have you felt any of the same pressures, Tony, in that, like, since I've got such a big platform here, are you afraid of losing followers? Do you want to? Obviously you want to be moving in the right direction, but what way do you feel about that?
For me, because I've been fully booked for years and like sort of safety is there with that, I feel like if your financial base is completely based off it, you'd be a lot more like stressed. But for me, the one thing that I want to highlight to anybody who's listening is that, like, when I went from 25 to 100,000, my lifestyle, it wasn't like I had 100,000 and I got a blue tick and all of a sudden it was like, holy fuck, this is life now complete. It was a case of I had 100,000. I was like, right, sweet.
Yeah, it's underwhelming how little of a difference having a social media following actually makes to, like, the normal day-to-day life. Obviously, you can build businesses off the back of that, and that's going to change your life massively. But it doesn't change anything at all. Like it's people think, oh, he's got a big following. This, like, it doesn't mean anything. It's actually scary how little it means in the real world, apart from the fact that you can build businesses off it.
I think you need to be very careful too, and I'm sure you'll all relate to this, is it's just like money. You can chase the rabbit to it. So as soon as you hit the 20K, you want 30, you want 50, then you want 100, and 100's a big milestone. As soon as you hit 100, you're like, how quick can I get 200?
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you constantly chase that and you don't evaluate that, you're going to spend all your time being unhappy because you're chasing the rabbit. The rabbit's not going to stop, and that's only going to get further away from you. And I feel like that's where you need to go, I'm doing well. Nothing really changes the more I chase this. As long as I'm enjoying it, I'm moving forward, it's good, that's solid. But the thing is, if you're chasing that, trying to get happiness from a following, that's going to fuck you over in the long run. Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of the reason why people think that when I hit 100K, I'll get the status symbol of being like an alpha, or it'll add up. But it's actually ego driving them. And I think whenever they realize that, when you hit that, nothing changes, and then they end up unhappy or unfulfilled. So the worst thing that can actually happen to them is sort of hitting that. Yeah.
How do you feel on my take? Whereas it's not so much, you said if you're relying on, like, you need to get to 100K or 150K until you're actually happy. I completely agree there. But how do you feel with when I say I always want to be moving in the right direction? So I don't care whether I'm at 250K or 1.5 million. I'd rather be at 250K and growing by the week than be at 1.5 million and be stalled out completely. You know what I mean? So I just like to, you need to put the separation there too, where it's like you can't chase chase the rabbit and have your happiness dictated on whether or not you have a certain amount of following. But it's good that you can still use it as goals. It's like you can set monetary goals, but just don't put your happiness off until you get there.
Personally, 100%. I sort of agree with that approach, because for me, it's one of them things where the following, you can push it for money as well, like you're saying, and it's such a not controversial topic, but it's one of the things. What way do you take it? Because it's one of them things where I think, like, the following can really fuck with your head if you don't play right with. And as you said there with the rabbit, it's just it's such a topic that I think, I know it sounds so small, but whenever you've actually went through the process, I feel like just so many's chasing it. But
we had a conversation early on in Marbella. I think Sean was growing really, really quickly, and I was kind of saying to you, we're pushing for the goal of, let's say, getting from 40 to 45 to 45 to 50. Sean was going like 150 to 175 to 200. I got very, very frustrated one day. I just said to Tony, where does it stop? I said, if Sean is far ahead of us, still chasing that 200,000, we're here at 40,000 chasing the 45 or the 50,000. I was like, when does this shit end? When do I reach a point where I'm like, Joe, that's it, I'm done, I'm retired?
A milli.
That fucking
a milli, and then it'll be on past a milli.
Oh, it's just So I think
income. It's like everything. Society's made to want you to want more, as if like it matters. But I think it is built like that. It's like that status thing. You'll hear loads of people talking about now. Like, the more like in today's lifestyle, following is seen as a success metric. As much as you don't want to admit it, people load up. Well, what's your name? Sean Casey. They look you up on Instagram. Boom, 250K. That changes their attitude completely towards you when it fucking shouldn't, and that's a disgrace that happens. But it's the same as if you pull up in a Fiat Panda like my ma, or you pull up in a brand new Ford Raptor. The opinion is automatically dictated. As much as you don't want it to be, it already is. But I think that's where the real power comes. Like, for example, I'm selling that Raptor now. I'm getting rid of it because the only reason I'm fucking keeping it is ego. There's no need for that to be here. I'm going to start driving my ma's Fiat Panda whenever I'm home. And my arm will be hanging at the side of that now. That's top heavy. And with a big man's arms, that might flip on the side. You never know. If I do a wee handbrake, it will. But the thing is, ego can drive you in the wrong direction. Whereas the first thing I was like, whenever I was thinking about selling, the first thing I was thinking is, what's the reason I'm not selling this? And I was like, because I don't want to downgrade. And I was like, that is such a regressive mindset. That's so poor. Versus it actually gives me more power to go, fuck that, I'm going to sell that. That's a smarter financial move because I'm not here enough. And if I drive my mum's car and I don't actually really give a fuck what you think, I'm far happier. And that's where I think that sort of thought process comes in. That's very important.
Yeah.
I know that is probably analysing your thoughts a little bit too deep.
No, it's not. I think that's very good. And at the end of the day, the most important thing anyone wants is happiness. So if you're happy day to day with no, like, you could have absolutely no money, no following, nothing, and just be happy day to day. Do things that you actually enjoy doing. Get up, go for a coffee with a friend. You're going to be a lot happier than the person that's constantly chasing the rabbit. The person that's buying the cars, not because they like cars, but because they want other people to see them in that. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people, like, society has this thing where it's all like, to be successful, this is what you need. You need to have this money, driving this car, following businesses. Whereas you're a much more successful person if you just wake up each day and actually enjoy that day instead of trying to be something or create something that's...
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance there with that. Like, you can...
Oh, yeah. You could say that's hypocritical. Oh, yeah, you're saying that with the following and the business isn't. But that's what makes me happy, though, because I wouldn't be happy not doing this because I really love it. But if someone is happy not doing this, then you can't tell them that they're not successful, because in their life, with what they're at and their metrics, they are.
I think to summarize it as best I can, I think it was like start of July, and we'd obviously been working like dogs for the last month and a bit or so. Start of July, I was like, fuck, it's festival. I fucking love going to festivals and shit like that, and going on holidays and whatever. I was like, we haven't really done anything. We've been in Marbella, but it's very hard to explain to people who aren't there. We weren't really there on a holiday. We were there to fucking work in a sunny place. I was like, fuck, actually, I need to do something here. And I've been absolutely working myself to the bone. So there needs to be a balance there where, look, you're doing this for a reason. You're not just working for the sake of work, working for the sake of more money, more following or whatever. You're working to ultimately have a better life, to enjoy your life a little bit more. I was like, I really need to, go and do something here. And then that was when I kind of booked Croatia initially, because I was like, fuck, there's no point in doing all this and then not cashing in at some stage. Yeah. I think you need to be working hard, but then have a couple of days or a couple of weeks or whatever to blow out as well. So that would be my take on it. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with chasing the rabbit, but if that's all you do, I think then in a way there's a bit of an issue there.
There's something wrong with chasing the rabbit if you think the rabbit is going to give you something once you catch it.
We're talking an awful lot about rabbits here, aren't we?
Let's move on. Let's talk about different
travel plans.
Let's talk about slugs.
What is the plan going forward? So obviously we done 2 months in Marbella. You done a bit of an extended stay. You went to Croatia after. What does September to December look like for you?
After yourself, Mr. Fitz.
They're closer to me.
Sorry.
When did I leave Marbella? So it was like, let's say 10th of July. So within a week, I was gone to Croatia. And Croatia was just a whole different kettle of fish altogether. I don't think I had one sober moment while I was there. I did.
You were down for that, though, the whole time.
Oh, absolutely. I was in my element for the 5 days. And actually, on the 5th day, I was actually meant to get a flight home like 2 days later. I was like, I've actually hit a point where I'm like, enough is enough. I need to get back into something.
Did you come home early?
I would have been staying like an extra day or two.
I don't even drink, and I'm like, fuck me, what's up?
But it was like 5 days of just relays between the Hula Bar, for anyone who's been in a bar, and then Carpe Diem in the evening time. Absolutely reckless. Was one of the best fucking trips I've ever been on. But then on the 5th day, I was like, right, I've enjoyed myself. This is where the balance comes in. It goes, right, I've enjoyed myself, but now I wouldn't mind getting back into some structure, some routine, going back to the social media, going back to content and everything else. But yeah, that was me in Croatia. And
what's your plans forward?
Well, we're going to Lisbon in IFS, myself, Sean, and Evan, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We're going to Lisbon in a week, 10 days maybe for
it's the
IFS.
Worst, just like to note that is the worst substitute for me. Come on, like, big man doesn't need sub. But anyway, never mind. Sorry.
And then
it's like Ronaldo off the pitch, like, come on, fuck. Sorry, continue.
Evan Daly substituted for number 9, Tony McAleavey.
There you go. Front double bicep. Sorry, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Afterwards, it's not booked yet, but I'm looking at doing a similar trip to Croatia in Ibiza for a couple of days. And a couple of days is all that's going to be needed. And then on the 12th of September, I have my hair transplant booked, so that's going to be me dust for about 3 months.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Did you not know about that?
I didn't know this.
He had it up on his stories and all. He said,
he told me he was just going to get a wig.
No.
Toupee.
And when is it?
12th of September.
Is it in Turkey? Oh, that'll be unbelievable. I'm down to see your head. Do you ever see the way their heads
I
go?
can't wait. I can't wait
The
to
head
see
goes
the
pure
yeah.
swollen and all
I
that.
can't
It's
wait
gonna
to
look
see.
like something
But
really
a
deep.
lot of them do look really sick, like not like in a
Look
good
sick
way,
anyway, though.
like in a good way. Like I've seen some of them grew back, and when their hair grows back, it actually looks better than before. What was the thing that's
Fox.
that's obviously been something that's been playing on your mind for a while? Like, oh, might get a hair transplant. Looking at it, what was the definitive moment where you're like, I'm definitely getting it?
See my hair.
I think it just it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And as much as you want to say, yeah, it doesn't bother me, when you're looking back in photos and you have to adjust your hair a certain way to make it look reasonably well. And I know other people don't see these things, but I think anyone with any sort of thing that they're not happy about will see it all the time. So I was like, had rotten teeth a couple of years ago, went and got braces. Now I've perfect teeth. So I'm like, I don't see the difference between someone with a pretty shit hairline like me going to Turkey paying $3,000 to get a brand new hairline. I don't see much of a difference between that and straightening your teeth with braces. So I think it was just kind of, it just built up over the years, kind of just looking back in photos, just not being happy with how your hair looks. And then it just got to a point where I saw a phenomenal transformation on that Now Hair Time. They have like 4 million followers on Instagram. So a phenomenal hair transplant. And I just literally messaged him and said, look, book me in for 12th September. So I can't wait. I don't know if I'm going to know myself with a pristine hairline. I don't know how much different I'm going to look.
Unreal. I think fair fox, because there's a lot of stigma to an extent around that because of the case of like, oh, he's getting X, Y, or Z done. But I think it also takes balls from your perspective to turn around and go, fuck it, I'm actually going to go for it, because you know either way. But I think it's like anybody, if you, as much as there's a fine line with that, you know, where like if you're getting a nose job or you're getting that, like there's nothing wrong as long as you know that there's a line. And you have that line. I don't see you're gonna have a hairline. But it's one of them things where I think fair fox, because I didn't know that was happening, but I knew from even the way you spoke about it, it wasn't like it was annoying at times. So I think it's just, if it's gonna actually make your life better, you're gonna focus less on it, and it's not gonna move from teeth to hair to fucking your nose now, and then all of a sudden you're gonna come out with a wee crown. But a case of that for me is on the money. And I think that's such a shout. So that's interesting. So that's happening. Jesus Christ.
What's after that? How has it been back in Limerick?
It's fine. But I'm still looking to move out, as I was for all of last year. Very, very difficult to do in the situation.
Move out within Ireland?
I have plenty of houses for rent.
For
a reasonable price.
Tony McAleavey swallowing the housing market up north.
Yeah, so what's your thinking there?
Have looked at 2 houses with my mate Sean to see if they're a viable option. He's kind of 50-50 on it as well. But
in Limerick?
In Limerick at the moment.
You're not going to stay long term in Limerick, though,
I won't stay long term, but you know what? I've kind of found that I'm happy bouncing. I don't think I'd be happy just taking all my stuff, going to a certain country and you stay here for 3 or 4 or 5 months. I'm actually happy going to a place a month at a time, maybe 6 weeks at a time, coming back to Limerick. And I do but the novelty of coming back until that wears off again, go somewhere else. And I'm in the very fortunate position where I can do that. And I think right now, that's just the best.
That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing, and I find that actually so refreshing, because you get the family, you get a bit of travel. It's not one or the other, and it's you're very lucky because you can do that. But I find that gives me the best perspective, because I sort of stay at home until I'm like, I'm ready for a change, and then I stay away until I'm like, oh, I'll miss home, and I float between. It's not a case of like I have to do 3 months or I have to do that. I will reckon the stays will get longer apart, but it's one of them things where I definitely think there's real value in a change of scenery, especially from a routine habit perspective.
As we said, after 6 weeks, we want to see the back of Marbella. So like that's going to be a similar situation in most places that you go to. I don't think there's any places really that special that you're going to be like, I'm going to stay here forever. I think you're going to get accustomed to any place that you go. So for me, I think the best thing that I could do is just bounce.
So where are you planning on bouncing between September and December, say?
I probably won't be going anywhere as my hair recovers.
Oh, yeah.
You roll on anyway. Wear a hat the fucking out you get.
How long does it stay swollen for?
Just a few days, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then it'll just be a skin, like a zero up, won't it?
Yeah, it'll just be... I think it grows back quickly to begin with. So after like 2 months, you have a good hairline, and then it falls out again, and then it grows back, and then it stays. So I think they said about 6 months. Some will probably be back after 4 or 5 months. Others then the full 6-7 months maybe.
Make no odds, because you'll be filming content all anyway, so you'll get to see each part of it. You're just doing that for content, probably.
Yeah, and I'm actually maybe you can advise me on this, but is considering doing a YouTube going over.
Yeah,
So I think it'd be a
absolutely.
really, really good topic.
It's like
So many people are interested in it at the minute. That's going to get a lot of eyes on you. Like, right, I'm doing this and I'm going to document my journey, because so many people want to do it, but they're afraid. They're all like, right, I'm going to follow him and literally day by day see how he's getting on. Like,
My mother's coming over at me. I wonder how competent she is with a Sony camera.
Yeah, that's how you just take a videographer with you. I think it would definitely be worthwhile getting it done professional. And it's one of the things as well where best way for you to think, is it worthwhile, is would you watch it if somebody that you sort of like was following a fitness, you 100%, because it's like prime example is, for like I have loads of clients who, for example, would be talking about getting their breasts done, right? And the first thing they'll say is, I was watching such and such. I was watching. The first thing most people do whenever they're looking at something like that is YouTube, boom, and then it's the highest paid video, and it's like, that's it. And you're like, that video could end up paying for that, do you know what I mean? Or it's just one of the things where I also feel like that is pure value you're giving somebody, because that's a really scary process for a lot of people. So you're not just talking about, oh, the process and I got this done for X price. You're actually going, like, I feel like this going to get it done. Like, I'm actually quite nervous, or I don't feel like my most confident. Like, look at the fucking head me at the minute. And I feel like people will actually be like, right, I can completely relate to that. That's real. And I think, see, whenever the more real you are with people, the more it just helps you and helps them. And you're actually giving value, and that pays off in the long run.
People do not realize how many men have either gotten a hair transplant or are considering getting a hair transplant. And that's kind of what I hope to do by just being open and honest with the process, is because once I mentioned that I was getting a hair transplant, people in the pub were coming up to me saying that they were considering getting something done. I was getting rakes of DMs from people saying it was either the best decision they ever made or something that they're looking at themselves, and could I give them any recommendations? So I do think that it's only a matter of time before it's sort of mainstream stuff where it's, oh, Johnny's going to have to get a hair transplant there. It's just, it's blasé. People don't pay second thought to it. So that's why I kind of think it'd be a good time to sort of do something like this, because for all those people who are considering doing it, and they say, do your own research. And then it goes, oh, what sort of grafts should you get? I don't fucking know. I'm not a fucking hair transplant, whatever you call them. So then when I just saw the social proof of that company, I think they did Francis Ngannou, the UFC fighter's hairline's like, if they're fucking up his hairline, it's not going to go too well for them. So I was like, you know what? They're fine. Take my money.
Yeah, no, I think it was good that a lot of people would, for whatever, I don't know what the reason is, but a lot of people just wouldn't share it because there's maybe like, it's just not talked about enough. But as you said, it's one of them ones where once more people start talking about it, it just is going to become a normal thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what date are you booked in for?
12th of September.
12th of September, and then you
That's
stay.
not far at all, is it?
You stay for a few days and then you come home.
And that's it, job done. Bingo,
I
bango.
think when you come back, there's some blood plasma treatment that you get that's meant to stimulate growth. Don't know if that's pseudoscience or not. Sorry, any internet experts. But that's what I've been told to get within a couple of months or something since you come back.
Yeah.
So about a month from now, really.
Yeah, less, is it?
Yeah, it's 15th of August, so there you go.
I can't get a haircut anymore. To not get a haircut for a month out.
And remember, you were saying, oh, you don't really want to travel with it. How long does that take you out of traveling for?
You'll travel
We'll
after
see.
a while.
Look, it could be 2 or 3 weeks in and go, this is fine. I just have a shit head of hair right now,
Yeah.
a shit lid. So
Yeah.
You'll, like everything, you'll just adapt it, I think, and then you'll just go, that's me anyway, and then it'll grow out, because you're hardly going to hide in the fucking garage for 6 months.
with a bucket hat on.
Yeah.
Or my
Yeah,
rice
just-
picker hat.
Just wear a cap.
Yeah,
there, you know?
yeah. That big thing that you got from Bali, just literally wearing it about.
Jesus Christ, no.
What about you, Tony? What's your plans?
I'm definitely going to be back in Dubai. I have to go back out for residency before the 1st of October, so I'm going to be out there between now and October. And when I go out, I'm probably looking at between 3 weeks and 2 to 3 months. I just don't know. I'm just going to play that by ear. I'm going to get flight out and then just suss from there.
And you're thinking about buying a house over in Dubai?
Yeah, looking at getting into the property over there, because I'm starting to get sick of paying rent for it. Like, do you know what I mean? When you go away that often to there, you're paying rent and it's dead money. Whereas as much as it's a mortgage, the money will at least be coming back to me in the long run. Do you know what I mean? So, and plus I'll be able to Airbnb the place when I'm not there. I'm not the sort of person who's like, oh, you can't live in my house.
Yeah.
You can live in my house. You're paying me, no sweat.
Yeah.
You can live there right now if you pay me as well. I'll slide over in the bed. There'll be room. Be room for more. Like. I'm not that bad, but you get what I mean. Yeah. So, things have just hit a bit of a peak here for me, and it just makes more sense to start looking there, because I'm a resident there. So from tax, VAT purposes, it doesn't really make sense for me to have a residence in Northern Ireland. It makes a sense for me to have one if I'm going to be anywhere out of everywhere in the world. I actually have to be in Dubai. I don't have to be anywhere else at any time periods. I have to be there once every 6 months. So it doesn't make sense for me to turn around and go, I'm going to buy a house in Newry.
Yeah.
No.
How many houses have you bought in Ireland?
Oh, quite a large amount. It's over specific ways. It's quite a large amount. Like it would be over. It's now reached. The reason I put up the post the other day is because it's reached a point where, see, sometimes I don't like giving the exact amount because certain houses will be worth less than others. Like everybody goes, right, a house is worth 150, a house is worth 75, a house is worth this. There's quite a large amount of apartments now. So like you might get like where that counts as one building. The total value of the property company over the last 3 years has grown from being like 100K to 7 figures, which is a bit mental. That's the reason I put up the post the other day. I liked your comment. My ones really appreciated that. It was like, the exact way you worded it was really nice because I was like, I really want to post this, but not from a showy perspective. I want to post this as like you can actually go after this because 2 years ago I was working on the fire service for 23 grand. I didn't think 2 years later I'd have a 7-figure property business.
What was his comment?
Your comment was, go ahead. What was it?
It was something along the lines of never diminish your own achievements in case it makes someone else feel worse. And I look at something like that. If you achieve something really, really great, you shouldn't have to step back and go, oh, it was handed to me or whatever. You should be able to go, yeah, do you know what? I worked fucking hard for this. I achieved this. And you can perceive this one of two ways. You can perceive this as, I'm going to go out and fucking do something well for myself. Or that person, he's an arrogant cunt. He's this, that, or the other. Or he must be up himself. So I really do believe strongly of that. And it's something I'm guilty of myself is that if I achieve something well, I'm very, very quick to downplay it or whatever.
I think that's a thing with Ireland in general, where no one wants to acknowledge their own accomplishments, and anything that you do anything good, you're like, oh, it was nothing, or you don't want to talk about it. And I think a lot of people don't love themselves enough to talk about the good things that they've done. And
I don't know if it's loving yourself. I think it's just pure fear as to how someone might interpret that. Yeah. And I have something I've started to live by recently. If I say something that someone perceives as the worst thing in the world, I go, I'm responsible for what I say. The other person is responsible for how they perceive it. I have no control over that. And oftentimes, if you're trying to explain it, you start digging a bigger hole for yourself. So even if I say the worst comment in the world, but I didn't mean anything by it, I'm not going to explain myself with it because it's that person's problem, how they perceive what I said.
Yeah.
The thing you said about Ireland, I think is very interesting because whenever you break it down, you look at this, it's like, I love the saying of your success will shine a spotlight on other people's failures. And that is why people get triggered with stuff like that. If you're annoyed by somebody else doing well, that's a clear sign that it's triggered you for some emotional perspective, whether you want to do it or you feel in a prior arrangement or commitment or business venture or physique goal. And if that triggers you, that's a sign that that's emotionally taxing on you. And that's where that saying of a success, can't even speak, success shines a spotlight on your failures. Because that's the reason I would get triggered. It's the exact same reason when you're younger and somebody drives by in a fucking Lamborghini sports car, you go, rich wanker. Like, what?
Yeah.
You can be homeless and be a ball bag. Like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can be.
Facts.
100%. Like, it's one of them things where, and that's not me being cheeky, it's just a straightforward fact of you can be a ball bag and homeless and you can be the nice guy rich, but people will perceive you differently because their own insecurities and their own perception to justify where they are. Because I've done that. And that's the only reason I feel confident saying stuff like that is because I've been in that thought process. It's a bit of a different one.
It's an interesting one. And it's another thing you could talk all day about. But I think with something like that, let's say rich guy driving a Lamborghini, the certain type of person who goes rich wanker wants to believe that person is a rich wanker, because then that must mean that if I don't have a Lamborghini, I'm a really nice person. So I think it's a way of trying to diminish that person, whether that's to uplift yourself or just to simply just drag them down a little bit closer to you. But I think it's definitely something that you want to believe so that it makes you feel better about why they are in a better situation.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A lot of the time you're just taught these different things. Like you're taught growing up, like, oh, that person has money, that they must be a certain way or they're stuck up. And then over time and just by learning and self-development, you realize all these things that you are talking about. In terms of your properties in Dubai, buying properties in Dubai, do you see yourself, like, is Dubai a place where you see yourself living long term? Or are you like, oh, it's for the next few years, I'll get property and then, as you say, float, you'll maybe always be there to a certain extent, but is that somewhere where you would live?
I would live there short term. I don't know if I'd live there when I'm 50. It's one of the things where right now it helps build my wealth because of the VAT, the tax. So that's just me being straight honest. Most people say, oh, I'm there for the lifestyle. Yes, I am to an extent, but there's also the benefits of if you don't spend that much time here, you're resident there, it makes sense. So that comes into play. So for me, it's one of them things where it just depends. Like I don't like, this is the exact reason why I quit the fire service is I don't like having things planned. Like if you give me, this is going to be your life for the next 5 years, or you can roll the dice every single time, I'll give me the dice every single time. I don't know. It's just one of the things where if I know what I'm doing all the time, even if I know that'll bring me happiness, I'll always be like, oh, I'll gamble. I'll gamble every single
It
time.
reminds me of the Family Guy scene where Peter goes into the insurance salesman and he goes, "You can have the boat, or you can have what's in the mystery box." And Peter goes, "The box, the box, the box."
Oh, fuck. Well, if my life goes to God, it's not going well because there's fuck all in the box, isn't there?
Yeah.
What is in the box?
I actually don't know, but it's fucking nothing.
Yeah,
Have you, have you never seen the guy that does the mystery box on TikTok? Where he's all like, he'll go, what was he say? It was like a PlayStation, and they're all like, oh, that's $5. It was all like, you could have $5, or you could have whatever's in this box. And they were like, no, like that's, we're selling the product. But then he always has like 20 grand or something in the box. He's all like, you could have had this.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Peter was like, Lois, a boat's a boat, but the box could be anything.
I love that because I know exactly the scene you're talking about. But that's sort of the way that I rolled in it. Like I've just sort of went with that approach with everything. I'll just always roll the dice, and it tend to pay off. But I do work hard at it. But the Dubai thing is one of the things where I was looking at villas, I was looking at apartments. I'm probably going to start small with it, and I'm going to look at it like it's going to save me money because I'll stop renting. But it's also a new business venture because now it's property in another country, and that'll be the start of that. It didn't really think it would be a business, if you get me, but it's one of the things where it actually just makes sense from that perspective now. It's a bit fucking mental when you say it out loud, because I say to my ones, oh, I'm looking at a villa in Dubai, and they're like, sweet mother of Christ, what the fuck's going on now? And I'm like, yeah, no, this is cream crackers. But
cream crackers.
You just roll with it and see how things go. And if shit hits the fan, it's one of them things I'll just go, well.
Yeah. So you were saying about rolling the dice, sir. Obviously, there has to be some sort of planning that goes into anything. So how far in advance would you plan for anything?
So I decided as soon as I got them houses, I got them last two in Belfast. I have another one coming through now in Northern Ireland, and then I'm not giving no specific locations because people will egg my house before I now have to get it cleaned again, for fuck's sake. But yeah, I would say I decided straight after that one, like I'm going after Dubai, and it'll be, touch wood, I'll probably have something agreed within January. I would like to think within 4 months I'll have something agreed. But next time I go out, like I'll be straight in the blower. I've already got 3 estate agents lined up and a 4th one I contact personally. So like they know when I come out, I'm looking to view these sort of apartments, this, that, there. I just move forward with it, if that makes sense. So yeah, relatively quickly. I just don't see the point in fucking about.
Yeah.
Plus, any actual capital in your bank account is devaluing massively every single minute because inflation is fucking ludicrous.
I know. Yeah.
So if you have 100 grand there, if you had 100 grand in your bank account, I think 3 years ago, with inflation over the last 3 years, it would be the equivalent of, say, 78,000 now. Now, it's still £100,000.
Yeah.
But it's only really worth 78 or 80 grand in today's market. So the thing is, if you hold that for another couple of years and inflation goes mad again, it is devaluing absolutely massively. Now, I don't know how specific I am there on exact numbers, but it is round that, isn't it?
Yeah, so Ireland's consumer price index is a chicken roll. So I remember a couple of years ago paying $3.90 for a chicken roll, and I went into Circle K the other day and paid $5.70 for a fucking chicken roll.
£2. So how much of an increase is that?
It's nearly... It's close to
70%. Do you know what's a really good example too is that when people turn around, and this is a question I always get asked, and I find this very interesting, is like I know fuck all about the housing market. Like fuck all. I just got stuck in and I'm learning as I go. Yeah. And people go to me, I'm waiting for the crash to buy. And I'm like, that's absolutely fine. You wait for the crash. There's no sweat. And they're like, when do you think the crash is going to happen?
Skeleton in the chairs.
And I'm like, well, fuck me. I don't know. But the thing is, whenever you look at anything, everything just gets dear. Like my mum and dad, the first house I bought, my mum and dad sold it in 1999 for £46,000, right? They bought it for 13,000 or something, like 10 years before that. Sold it for 46. And then I bought the same house back 18 years later for 101. So like you can wait for the crash, but in 18 years, that house is probably going to be worth double again because it's doubled every 20 years for the last 40. So yes, there can be crashes and stuff, but like a house 08 after the crash is probably surpassed where it was now, or it's very similar or close to climbing back up to it. But over duration, it always adds up. So it's one of the things where I think it's very interesting. But for me, I don't like waiting. You're waiting on something that may or may not ever happen in any area. You can wait for the right time in anything. Houses, fitness, Joe. Fuck that. Like, fuck me, you could be dead next month. Yeah. You may as well get rolling and get after.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. Fitz, what's your take on property? Would you get into property?
I have a lot of things to sort out first.
I didn't sort any of them. I actually swept him to the side and goes, this is another thing that I don't need, but let's go after that.
Man can't even find a house to rent, let alone one to buy.
I'm still living with my mum, for fuck's sake.
Fair enough.
That makes no sense.
I'm sure it's something that, look, I'm going to be honest, it's not something I'm hugely passionate about, but I'm sure things can change over the next few years. But as I said, not a huge priority for me right now. But
what is your priorities?
just making the coaching as best I possibly can. I have one offering for coaching. I want to have at least 2 to begin with, then 3. So high ticket, medium ticket, low ticket. So that's very much my priority at the moment. And look, all these things lead on to another. Once you sort of max out in one realm, you're going to naturally look for the other. So at the moment, I'm pretty content just trying to improve on the current service that I have right now. Once that builds enough cash flow, then naturally I'm going to look for other avenues to exploit, namely property, most likely.
Do you see yourself, how long do you see yourself coaching for? Do you see yourself as coaching something you'll do till you're literally in your 40s, 50s, or?
It's a tough one. Not in the same capacity, I would say. I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I'm 40 or 41. Look, people change careers all the time. Paths change. Who knows?
You could be a postman. You never know.
Could be a postman. It's not a bad job, except when it's raining.
Steps behave.
High expenditure, lad, yeah.
Fuck yes, you'd be great. No one your post be delivered by 3 a.m. You go, fuck me, why's the postman here? He'd be like, I'm out getting my steps nice and early, listen to the podcast, thinking of content. You'd be like, sweet mother of Christ. You'd be like, the postman's fucking off his nut.
I'd be looking out the window doing check-ins and I see the postman going around in shorts, strolling, fucking earphones in. I'm like, that's a handy fucking number.
Fuck, it'd be tough work. Do you know what? Every job's pros and cons. Everything. Like, same with firefighting, same with content.
Use man hate steps, like.
I'm not too bad.
Well, you're not too bad compared to our Fitz. Like,
I do mine. Like, I don't like them, but I do them.
Yeah.
I think that's more important. Whereas Fitz doesn't enjoy them at all and still won't do them.
I still look like this.
I'm surprised he hasn't got one of them wee unicycle things. Do you know what I mean? So he doesn't have to move.
No, a Segway.
Yeah, a Segway. Or have you seen the wee unicycle? The wee one way. It's called one way.
One wheel. Yeah.
I get you one.
That's too much fucking movement of my legs.
I think there's you'd be weight capacity. Yeah, there's gotta be like 100 kilos on it, and then I think after 100 kilos you get reinforced wheels. So you would need reinforced
stabilizers as well.
100%. Plus, probably a skill you'd have to learn. I'd have to get it to teach you.
I can imagine you running around on the one wheeler,
just Ford Raptor tires underneath.
What were we even talking about?
I can't remember. I interrupted him and said,
postman.
I said
job.
Your job. Yeah.
Do you see yourself coaching long term? Was the question. You're sort of out of the coaching realm to an extent. You've got the
not one-to-one coaching. Whereas
one-to-one.
I always see the academy something that I'll be doing no matter what businesses and stuff they launch, because it just always, that's where I got into it from, is from like fitness, fat loss, helping people with that, and it's just something that I really enjoy, and it brings me fulfillment. So even if I got to the stage, or I'm at a stage where we literally wouldn't need the academy, but it's something that I actually feel fulfilled doing the Zoom calls and helping people with that. So I think since I've built my following around that, it's something that I'll always do with the academy. But I haven't done one-to-one coaching in even like 6-7 months or something.
Yeah, and
you reach a point with following as well where there's so many more people digesting your content, where naturally the progression is to go, how can I offer this value to a lot more people? And I think if your following is quite low, you're nearly going to be pigeonholed into doing one-to-one coaching for as long as your following remains at that. But I think that's probably where all 3 of us are eventually going to be, is just going to be at a point where you're trying to deliver the most value to the most amount of people possible in the forms of probably low ticket. And it won't be coaching as such, but platforms where you can educate, build a community, and ultimately provide a sense of training and nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. You want to say something there, Tony?
No, I was just thinking, am I going to be coaching long term? I think I'll probably always keep my hand in one-to-one coaching.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a bro, like off straight away.
You love check-ins, like?
Yeah, well, like, see, for me, it's one of them things where, like, like that's probably the main thing that's changed my life the most is one-to-one coaching. Not even one-to-one coaching, like the actual gym. And I know that the fitness and the platform changed it, but I just know deep down that like I can have a real big impact on 1 or 2 people a little bit more. So it's just like one of the things. Whenever I have quite a lot of coaches on, and I always say like, if I ever see any of myself and people, I'm always like more doubling down on that. Certain clients will notice that as well. But it's one of the things where I think you'll always be involved. Like I'll definitely always be involved in fitness. Like I'm complete matehead through and through. Like so there's no point in saying anything else. Like there's just not. Like you know what I'm like. I'm as bro as the commies that both live with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of the things, like if you're passionate about it, you'll always do it. It doesn't feel like work. Like none of this feels like work to me. That's why I end up working every fucking hour of the day.
Yeah.
Like
it's scary how little it feels like work. Like it's something that you get up and you want to do. Like you want to make content, you want to help people with this and that, and like I've never felt like I'm working ever, which is a really cool situation to be in. Like
it's good, but I struggle to turn off with. Like for example, I got up at about 5:30 this morning, was in the gym for 6:30 recording exercise. I recorded for 6 hours. 5 hours, then went home, got breakfast, left down here for content all day. Then I'm going to go train and I'm going to start checking tonight. And I'll literally be like, great, absolutely buzzing. Couldn't fucking wait for another minute. Just wake up tomorrow and straight back in. And the thing is, I don't turn around and be like, oh, I'm working today. I just be like, I have X, Y, and Z today. And that's a complete gift. And that is me being brutally honest. There's some people who'll be listening to this going, I fucking wish I had that. But at the same time, it's one of the things where I feel like that only comes from leaning in for so long. And there's a lot of time where like I was working in the fire service and on a Sunday morning I get up and I had all my check-ins on purpose on a Sunday morning so I couldn't go out on Saturday nights. That's how fucking ludicrous I am.
Mm-hmm.
But
I understand that.
Yeah, but it's a wee bit of like a David Goggins whip yourself mentality. But at the same time, I knew that if I'd done that, I would go to bed early on a Saturday and use the Sunday productively rather than fucking hang like a bat and chase fucking some woman around the dance floor that don't even want me because I'm built like a fucking Watson at that stage. Watson's such a bad like.
What's a Watson?
Did you ever see a Watson?
No.
The crisp, the wee orange, the wee.
You've never seen a Watson, lad?
Oh, they're fucking rank. See if somebody eats Watson. You
hate crisps, lad.
I have a fucking weird thing about corn snacks. Like I can't stand it. Like so, like if somebody eats corn snacks around me, do you like the shit that bees in your hand after crisps? Do you like that? What do you call it? The dust.
Oh yeah, Watsons would be the worst for that. Like
that's my kryptonite. See if you put that on me, I would fucking have a fit.
Just a bath full of Watsons. Like
I would. Oh, it just. You know,
big share bag.
Yeah, oh man, it's just one of them things. Yeah, it just fucking freaks me out. I don't know what it is. It's just wipeout. Like, I'm sweating. See, thinking about them. I know that sounds so odd, but it's like that and beans being poured. None of you ate really crisps or done anything with beans. And I didn't tell you when we lived together, but like. That's like wipeout for me. See beans being poured.
Do you not like eating beans?
I don't mind eating them. I can't see them being poured. It's like a
How do you
thing.
eat them if you can't look at them?
I would never make them because of the way you. I mean, if they're in something already and they come out served.
Yeah.
But it's like the goop. The goop that they're in. That doesn't make sense to me. Where does the goop come from? Do you know what I mean? So it just freaked me out from a young age. I don't think I've ever passed that. So as much as things are going well in some places, there's a lot of.
This is you need therapy about your bean.
Beanophobia.
Beanophobia. Right, I think that's a good wrap up for part 1. We're going to go to part 2. Sean Fitz is launching his own podcast.
Am I?
Yeah,
he is now.
I'm not saying the matter.
Yeah, so part 2 is going to be just Sean and Tony. I need to fucking bounce and get shit ready for Croatia. So thank you for listening. Anything you just want to plug or do before we leave?
No.
I'll put their socials down below. You probably know where to find them anyway. But yeah, thanks.
Oh, I'm nearly on 500,000 on TikTok, so that would be great.
Yeah,
someone can push me.
Get over to his TikTok. He's chasing the rabbit.
I'll not ask for anything, but because I didn't ask for anything,
yeah, just completely contradicted everything I'm saying.
But because I didn't ask for anything, you know, I'm the one who should probably get a lockout. But that's all right. We'll leave it at that.
All right. What's your podcast going to be called? The Sean Fitzpatrick podcast?
The Correct Opinion Zone.
The Correct Opinion
Really?
Zone.
Is that what you're going with?
It was such a funny thing. Myself and my mates were years ago in Lisbon. We're just kind of bouncing opinions back and forth, just like controversial, some not so controversial. And then we're like, we need to set up a podcast one day and call it The Correct Opinion Zone. So I think I'm just going to, when I say something, I'm going to do it. So I have no choice in the matter. I'm going to have to call it The Correct Opinion Zone. It's going to rub people up the wrong way. But maybe that's the point of the whole thing. Okay, right. So that's it. I've settled the name here.
The Correct Opinion Zone.
It's what do they call it? An oxymoron?
Oh, fuck. I don't know. You're too, what do you call that word? Well articulated for my liking. There's not enough mumbling. The only thing that breaks you down is that, hey, bitch, all of a sudden. Apart from that, you're pretty well fucking spoken.
Right.
So there you go.
Thank you for listening and go to The Correct Opinion Zone.
That's
for part
the
2.
one.
Sound.